Thanks, Jim, and thanks for all the work you do for the Awards Network. A couple of things from me, really, just in terms of the time I've got. I think the first, maybe a brief, where we've been the last 10 years. I think it's fair to say, actually, about 10 years ago, we were actually quite a Corinthian organisation, well-intentioned, lots of lovely things that we want to do, but actually, we needed to put our shoulder to the wheel and actually make some real change. So part of that was we're probably quite comfortable just being in the school space, and we made a really conscious decision to do some really quite what we felt was very innovative work at the time. So our engagement with prisons, properly engaging the workplace, and that's been a really really interesting piece of work for us. So now apprentices in the Scottish context, in ScotRail and Scottish Gas, do the Duke of Edinburgh's award programme as part of their apprentice programme. I think that's exciting, obviously, for the young people moving into that space. But I think it's also an exciting endorsement of the approach that employers want to see. Probably, a lot of the conversation we're speaking at the top about those kind of attributes that they want to see young people presenting when they come into the workplace. So now there are about 1,000 groups right across Scotland, 1,000 centres. As I say, the workplace, secure settings, residential settings, additional support for learning. We're in about 60% of those, so real growth in that space. A lot of community-based youth works, the voluntary youth work sector. And we have no limit in our ambition of where those groups can be, and in fact we've got virtual groups as well. That's probably actually one of our biggest problems, is that actually we're everywhere, but so it's difficult to sort of put your finger on what the DV is about. The biggest thing that happened to us is that we invested significantly in a CRM system. That's an exciting thing to say, isn't it? How exciting. But actually what we shifted it from is having little passports that folk will remember, filling in lots of signatures, and now young people enrol and have an account online. We've wittily called that system EDV. You see what we did there? Very clever. Took the marketing department ages. But actually, for the first time, we've now got something we can start to build from a really exciting place. So our ability to export data, for those who are interested in data in the room, is extraordinary. And those reports are game-changing, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Young people are recording their activity on their mobile phone. So it's instant, it's just happening. So that casual recording of achievement is just happening. And I think for leaders, actually, the removal, whether they're paid or not, the removal of paperwork, whilst they'll still tell you it's a lot, it has genuinely halved. So that's been quite important for us. I guess the second thing I want to speak to about is that really about the data piece. So we really have heavily invested in closing the achievement gap, and we were able to do it because we had good data. So for us, that was about equality and equity. Equality was geographic, making sure we were everywhere, and we're now delighted to say we can say we're in 97% of schools' catchment areas. So it's either a community-based group or the schools running it themselves, so pretty high coverage. But the equity piece is obviously working out whether those distinct groups of young people who perhaps need a bit more support in terms of engagement in the programme actually have the support. The progress we've made there, as I say, particularly within additional support for learning, 60% of all units or schools, that standalone schools, have an active DV group, which is great. Our profile, whilst they're not, in my view, not disadvantaged just because they're from the BME community, we have looked at our participation amongst the BME community and actually found that actually disproportionately more young people from BME communities take part than the population profile would suggest. So fantastic tribute to everyone being involved in that. And I think just our ability to actually provide our partners with really, really good data around SIMD participation. Not just to say there's a problem, but to actually celebrate the achievements of what's going on. So in Glasgow, 50% of all DV participation is the lowest 30% SIMD. It's absolutely extraordinary. Glasgow is now the biggest provider of DV in Scotland with over 1,900 enrolments last year. I mean, extraordinary, because we actually looked at the data and made some different choices. Finally, I just want to touch, you asked me on a few challenges. Insight for us has been a significant problem. I've said it publicly, there you go, it's out there, because I think it's an attainment tool. I don't think it's an achievement capturing tool. And I think actually we should have a better conversation nationally about how we actually capture achievement, not just, frankly, and I've heard it, it's just difficult stuff. I don't think that's good enough. It's 2019. We have a whole load of online tools and lots of different ways of looking at this. And whilst it may be on the surface difficult, I'd like to really get into that conversation. Capacity is a huge issue, and I think we're alive to the sort of budget constraints, particularly within the local authority context. But that empowerment of schools agenda, where the centre might have produced, even if we take South Lanarkshire, some of the recent cuts here, how actually South Lanarkshire at the centre was able to support some element of supporting schools to deliver programmes. That's obviously now gone, and what replaces that? What does that look like for a school? And I think linked to that is that we are, and actually tonight in the Parliament, we're celebrating the fact that Clackmannanshire, instead of the centre running the DV, actually the three secondary schools are actually now directly licensed to us. That's actually quite exciting because it provides a new dynamic for engaging directly with whatever the challenge is for you as an institution, rather than just taking South Lanarkshire as a whole or Clackmannanshire as a whole. So we're actually engaging individual schools, and actually if you just take Clackmannanshire, the increased participation is 200%. Just because we've gone directly to the school. Nothing's changed, the programme hasn't changed, the approach, the leaders haven't changed, but just the ability to support that cohort better has increased participation 200%. So I think there's lots of positives when we start to look at the challenges there as well. Okay?